Welcome, everyone. Thanks for a lot of patience. It just really shows your commitment to wanting to be here. Some of the people like Breck were here from the very beginning. So we're going to continue today with our 20th class on the Taittareeya. As usual, the mantras are up ahead. I'm going to ask you, if you would, Bindaji, when you start, to just remind people where, because sometimes it's a very long document, roughly where you are for people who want to go back and refer what the mantras are that we're really covering at this point. Give us a rough idea in the document at some point, if you could, even if it's later. And what else? Replays are here and on Advaita Retold on YouTube, and we will have a question and answer after the class, and we will have a Q&A here at 8:30 p.m. IST on Sunday. I think that's good enough. Thank you, Bindaji. Why don't you just go ahead, please?
Thank you, Atmisha. Thank you, Prakash. And welcome all. Sorry for the delay. And let us not waste further time. Go ahead with the last session. Om Namo Brahma Dibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrabhyo Vamsha Rishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashi Gridau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murtiveda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Taittareeya Upanishad, second chapter, first section. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, in the second chapter, we are in the first section, which is starting with Brahma Vidapnoti Param, which we have dealt in detail up to Brahmana Vipaschiteti. In the last class, 19th session, we started with Etasmat Va. Tasmad Va Etasmat Atmana Akashas Sambodhaha. Akashad Vayu, Vayoragnihi, Agnerapah, Adbyaf Prithvi, Prithivya Aushadayaha, Aushadebhyo Annam, Annat Purushaha. Up to that, we completed. And I'm supposed to be doing the remaining part, Sava Yesha Purusho Anna Rasamayaha, Tasya Idameva Shiraha, Ayam Dakshina Pakshaha, Ayam Uttara Pakshaha, Ayam Atma, Idam Pucham Pratishta, Tadapyesha Shloko Bhavati. That's the last 4 lines of the first section. But from the interaction which I had with those who had attended last, there seems to be a lot of confusion and lack of clarity regarding the nature of creation, or the manner in which the creation was being mentioned in the Upanishad. We have seen that Satyam Jnanam Anandam Brahma as the indicative meaning of Brahma's definition. The Brahman, which is Satyam, which doesn't undergo any modification or a change or any sort of deviation from its state. Jnanam is consciousness, also standing here for segregating between what is not conscious or what is Jada and Chaitanya. So Jnanam is for knowledge, consciousness, or consciousness being exhibited by things. And that, along with the Anantam, all the three put together is the integrated nature of Brahman. Anandam here is, even though it is infinitude, all compassiveness or all pervasiveness. The word Anandam here you have to take it as Ananyatvad, means there is nothing outside it or other than it. Then only it will become Anandam. Because if there is something other than that, then that will be the limit up to which Brahma will be expanding. Beyond that, it will be the other thing. So, there should not be the otherness in that state or in that definition of Brahman. Therefore, Satyam, Jnanam and Anandam has to be applied together is what we studied in the detailed discussion which we had it. From that, Tasmad va etasmad Atmana, when it shifted to Atmana, the Atma and Brahman are two different words. But here, the word Atma was used in place of Brahma for the stages of creation. Why this word was used for the purpose of, instead of Brahma, Atma was used to us, for us to understand that the purpose of the Upanishad is to set us free from the ideas and notions which we are having in our mind and the limitation which we are feeling with our physical existence and the otherness which we experience in the world. When we concluded the definitions, we said that Karana Vyatiregena Karyam Nasti. That is, there is no effect without a cause, or the cause itself is present in every effect. That aspect, keeping that in mind, and the nature of none-otherness in Brahman, when we understand these two together, we have to see the creation from a point of cause and effect. At the same time, the effect is none other than the cause itself. Now, this was had created a confusion among some of the people who had listened to the lecture and they were not able to understand. So for that purpose, I will just tell you the prakriya or the purpose in which we have a process called Panchikaranam, means how the 5 elements are formed as per the Vedanta philosophy. Panchikaranam. Pancha means 5. Karanam means how becoming a cause or instrument. The 5 methods of instrument, cause of instrument resulting in effects is a concept in the Vedanta that is irrespective of which school it is, they have accepted it. That explains the process how 5 subtle elements, which is mainly the Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha, Prithvi. That means the space, the air, the fire, the water and the earth. These elements, how they combine to form gross elements. When it is being formed from the Brahman, they are not gross element, they are subtle elements, or what we call it as Tanmatra. Tanmatra, the word Tanmatra in Sanskrit means that alone, or in the form of a primordial nature where that alone is existing. Now, when Akasha Sambhudaha, when Akasha was created out of Atma or Brahman, Akasha alone was created and it didn't have anything other than that. And therefore, it is a subtle element, not conceivable, not even mentally, apprehend the nature of it, how that Akasha would have been, or that how the space would have been in its primordial nature. But that primordial Akasha goes through the 5 elemental combination to become the gross element, the gross Akasha or the gross sky, which are perceivable by us, our mind and intellect or the sense organs. Now, how this is forming is the physical world which we see is the gross elements, and that form which forms from the Brahman is called the subtle elements. The doctrine is rooted in both cosmology and metaphysics put together. The transition from the subtle to gross has to be understood that these 5 elements, that is space, air, fire, water and earth, each subtle element divides itself into 2 halves. First, that Akasha itself becoming 2 means the subtle element is now a twin subtle element of Akasha as A and B. Now, 1 half remains pure and unchanged. That means 50% of the gross Akasha what we see is the subtle Akasha itself, which has come originally from Brahman. But the remaining 50% is having 4 equal parts of other elements like the air, fire, water and earth, which means 12.5% of air, 12.5% of fire, 12.5% of water and 12.5% of earth. That becomes a 50%, and the 50% of the sky in its purity, original sky, when they join together, the physical earth also, physical fire also, physical water also, physical sky, everything, the 5 elements becomes gross enough for sensory perception. Therefore, when I say tanmatra or that alone, tanmatra, the literal English meaning is that alone, in its pure form or the primordial form, is what is coming directly from Brahman. All other things are also coming out of Brahman. And in the gross nature, it is Brahman only, even though it is appearing as the different gross elements. The confusion came when the Akasha came. Akasha had a quality of sound in the subtle nature itself. And how did the subtle nature come from? If the cause and the effect are non-separate, what you're seeing in the effect should have come from the cause itself. Therefore, the sound quality for Akasha, which is being seen in the space, has come from Brahman itself or Atma itself. Atma and Brahman are identical here. Has come from that Brahman. But how did a Nirguna Brahman give rise to a Guna? This was the main confusion everybody had, those who have contacted me through the back channel. I hope others also may have it. I explained it that Akasha, after having formed, identified itself with the Atma or Brahman. During the process of identification, the effect identifying itself with the cause, the quality of sound was given as a transfer of benefit to identify Akasha or the space, because the other elements are also going to come. So to identify it from the other elements, a quality was transferred to Akasha in the form of Tadatmya Sambandha. The Tadatmya Sambandha, or the relationship of identification, is the reason why Brahma, which is Nirguna, has now given a guna to Akasha. Now the question which the foolish minds or the by people who are not able to understand when we say Nirguna doesn't mean that it doesn't have any guna. We have to understand that when all gunas are present in one, and where you cannot identify with one guna from the other guna, that guna becomes invisible, null and void. Even though present in the sum total, that cannot be segregated. Now, the best example I can give you, it's only for example purpose. If you mix different colors, you get white. In the paint industry, that is how it is thing. Or if you have a disc with a VIBGYOR, when you rotate it fast, you will see a white disc rotating, which we all have studied during our science in the school. So white doesn't mean it doesn't have blue, or it doesn't have yellow, orange. All those, it is present in the white, but you cannot segregate it. When that is why the Nirguna Avastha, the gunas are present, but inseparability of them make it Nirguna. But when Akasha was taken out of or born out of Brahman, and it identified its parent, when identifying having created, the parent gifted him with a quality called sound. Same way, from the sky, the way air principle was born, the air principle now need to be separated out from the Akasha. So what happened was, what was present in Akasha came to the air principle. So air principle has got both the qualities of the sound and Brahman's qualities of Nirgunatvam. But to separate that air from the sky, the guna from the Brahman, which is in the form of touch, sense of touch, was transferred to air. So air got two qualities to make it separate from the Brahman and the Akasha, even though predominantly or not predominantly identical with Brahman only. Due to the presence of the sense of touch and the sound, it is called separately as air. At this level, it is still in the form of Brahman only. It is Sarvavayapi, Satyajnanam Anandam Brahma. That quality is there, present in all of them. But the identifier of qualities is which make them separate. Like that, when it came to fire, sense of sound, sense of touch, and sense of form or what we call it as form, or, akriti, or the vision, what can be identified by vision, was present in the fire principle. Due to again the process being the same, because fire was born out of air. From a fire came the water principle, and water principle has now got the sound, the touch, the form, and taste. Taste is unique to given to water principle, which was not there in the what you call the sky, the air, or the fire principle. And when it came to the fifth element, earth, the sense of smell was the identifier for the earth principle, and it had all the four qualities of the earlier parentage, from the sky, the air, the fire, and the water, of sound, touch, form, and taste. So the earth principle got all the five qualities. That is why the earth became the grossest when it became the Panchakarana Prakriya, or the way in which the five elements combine together to become a total gross element. These gross elements are then becoming the creators for every name and form in the world subsequently. All through this, the Brahman is being the primordial cause, remains in every one of them unchanged, even though qualities are being perceived in the respective elements or the objects. Therefore, up to the Prithivi level, we now know how the fundamental elements were created, and from there, how the gross elements were formed. And because of the gross elements, now the creation, the earth has become fertile for growing. It has got the earth principle, the water availability, the heat availability, the oxygen and the air availability, and the space where it can, allow things to grow. Therefore, from the earth, gross earth, the Aushadayaha means the two types of vegetations came up. That is, one is called the Aushadi and other is called Vanaspati. Aushadi is the one which gives a yield once and perishes, like the rice, wheat, maize, etc., barley, etc., all of them. And Vanaspati is that of trees or bushes where they yield fruits and things like that, but they give multiple yield and year after year. So these two are together called the Aushadayaha. And they started becoming the food for the living beings. Annat Purushaha. Now here the word, even though the Purusha is being used because of the predominance want to be brought into the human being, but the Purusha doesn't mean that it is only human beings, but all sorts of living beings, from the single cellular amoeba to the largest animal which we can think of, the dinosaurs or any other animals which once upon lived on the surface of earth or in other planets. But Purusha is the one which is being given a importance, because the reason is that only in Purusha means man, but here it is not man alone, it is both man and the male and the female have to be taken together, because the progeny can happen only when the male and female is happening for a sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is a method by which it is happening in certain animals and cellular beings. So all these type of creations are brought under the name Purusha, because Anna from the food is the capability to produce, because even if it is a cellular being, it consumes something to multiply. Without consuming, it is not multiplying. So that has to be kept in mind. So when this is being taught, we have to understand that the Purusha which is now being told is Anna Purushamayaha, Annamayaha, Anna Rasamayaha. It is the essence of the food in the living beings, because of which the progeny comes up for the whole system of creation to continue and unabated. So we do not know when they started. There is no way we can. How was the first creation happening for the Purusha or the birds or the animal? Whether the chicken came first or the egg came first, or that type of a question cannot come up, because they all coming out of Anna Rasamayaha. They are all coming out of the food, and the food is the one which is converting itself into the form of creation for the living beings. And if there is no food, no living being can survive. That is why they are now being considered as sustained and allowed to propagate, consuming food. Therefore, Purushaha Anna Rasamayaha. All the living beings are essentially of the nature of food itself. Then comes Tasya Idameva Shiraha. This is where I am starting for today's thing. Tasya Idameva Shiraha. Now the Upanishad is going to consider a bird as its example. Because the head of all animals and birds and everything, the head is the most important aspect, where the control of the rest of the body is being controlled. Therefore, Shiraha, the word meaning should be understood as head, is the area which controls the rest of the body. Therefore, Idameva Shiraha, the word Idameva Shiraha, we have to understand in its proper meaning that his tasya means his, idam, this, eva shiravaha, is verily the head. Means, what is this there is where it is being mentioned? It is Annamaya. Therefore, the food which is being consumed is now becoming a very important aspect in the brain, or the functioning of the brain, for creating the senses, for creating the muscle movements, by creating for all the vitality, even the attractions and the stimulations, everything is controlled from the head. Therefore, the anna which is being consumed is predominantly the reason why the head is able to control that. So we know if the sugar imbalance is there, the brain will start functioning not correctly. If the oxygen is not fed properly, the brain will start malfunctioning. So we have seen that the food which we are consuming, which comes through the blood into the brain, is the one reason why the food is nurturing the brain. Therefore, tasya idam eva shiraha is to be understood that way. I am dakshina pakshaha. This, ayam means this. Dakshina Pakshaha. Now is the right wing. Now how is the right and left is to be understood is that Dakshina, actually speaking, is, even though the meaning is right, it also has the meaning left. South. South is the, no, not left, south. Sorry. So, when we are facing east, what is to our right side will be the south side. And that is also known as the right side. Now, imagine a bird or a human being facing an east. His Dakshina Pakshaha means southern side, which is the wing or the limb, that will be the right side wing or right side hand or right side leg. I am Uttara Pakshaha. Now Uttara means north. The Uttara direction or the northern direction will be, which is his left side. So the left hand, left wing or the left leg will be facing towards, moving and showing the direction towards the north. So Asya idameva shiraha, ayam dakshina pakshaha, ayam uttara pakshaha. Now these two are the two directions which are being given by the with the reference to the body. And I am Atma. This is Atma, which is when we are showing I am so and so, by default our hand goes to the chest or the middle portion of the body. I am so and so. So when we are doing that, we are touching our trunk. So Atma is represented in the trunk, and that is the place all our vital organs are placed, and the food is assimilated, transmitted through the heart to every nook and corner of the body. Therefore, it is considered pervading the body. That pervading nature of the body is the pervading nature of Atma or Brahman. That is why the trunk is called representing the Atma. Idam pucham pratishta. Now, pratishta, prakarshena tishtati iti pratishta, means well-founded or supported or the seat or the pedestal. That is what is called pratishta. Pucham, the word, even though the word pucham means tail, it is to indicate what is below the navel. Below the navel is the, what we call it as the tail end or the lower limb. So, idam pucham pratishta means every creation, what is below navel are the legs or the tail of for the birds, which gives direction, as well as when they are sitting, they balance on the tail, birds. The animals, of course, use their legs for their established locomotive activity. So that is used by the lower portion of the limb. So that is why it is called idam pucham pratishta. Now, tadapyesha shloko bhavati. This is how the following mantra is going to describe it, or how it is being mentioned in the coming shloka or the coming mantra of the Upanishad. What is being referred to is where it is taking us to the next level of the same creation part of it, where it says annad vai praja prajayante. या काश्च पृथिवीं श्रिता अथो अन्नेन एव जीवन्ति अथ ऐनम् अदपियन्तः अन्नं हि भूतानां ज्येष्ठम् तस्मात् सर्वौषधमुच्यते सर्वं वै ते अन्नम् आप्नुवन्ति यो अन्नं बह्योपासते अन्नं हि भूतानां ज्येष्ठम् तस्मात् सर्वौषधमुच्यते अन्नात् भूतानि जायन्ते जातानि अन्नेन जीवर्धन्ते अद्यतेऽपि च भूतानि तस्मात् अन्नं तदुच्यत इति. This is the next mantra beginning which we will be discussing now. What does it say? Annat, from the food. Why? Indeed or assuredly. Praja means creatures. All the creatures which is being further produced from the first creations. Ya kaha, whatever that may be. All the creatures, there is no exception to it. Cha prithivi, with the earth. Srita means connected or born. Prajayante. That means it is the connection with the Prithvi from where the food is being consumed, the creatures, and Prajayante means they are born due to two things. They are born on the surface of the earth by the virility they obtain or accrue from the food. Atha annena eva jivanti. Again, atha means again, annena eva. Indeed, with the food or by the food, jivanti. They survive. Jivanti here means live, but here is not only live, they entirety of their life. They are dependent on the annam or the food. Not only they are caused by the food, their birth is, the creation is caused by the food, their existence is also now by the food only. Atha, next, enat, into this, api, andataha, at the end, yanti. After having completed their lifespan, these creatures, when they fall on the earth, either through burial or through cremation, the elements which they have consumed in the body through the form of annam, which is in fact created from the earth, and this earth which was in turn created by the fivefold creation from the subtle elements from the air onwards to the earth, which in turn has come from Brahman, is the continuity from which the whole thing is going back to. So, ata enat api antataha yanti means at the end, they all go back to the source, to the Brahman. Initially, it will appear that they are going back to the earth. But earth has come from where? So if it is going back to the earth, means it is not to the earth alone. Through the earth, they have going back to the source itself. Annam hi bhutanam jeshtam. Therefore, food indeed is the supreme most. Jeshtam means eldest, but supreme most of all the beings. For all beings, food is the most important thing. because they are born because of food of the parentage. They are surviving while living because of food. Even when they are dying, they merge back to the source from where the food is being generated for the subsequent creation. So, whether we are feeding to as fertilizer the ammonia, urea, or the the bone powder, etc., to the plants and things like that, it is in one form or the other way going back to the same source of animals, to the earth, to the for the production of calcium, phosphorus, etc., which in turn is consumed by the plants and is being brought into the food by either via fruits or by grains. And when we consume, our required elements are being fed by the annam from the source which is in the earth. So all these things are showing that the supreme-most element which comes out of the earth is the food, and that is the one which is making survive the whole life on the surface of the earth. Tasmat, therefore, tad, that, sarvaushadam uchyate. Therefore, food is the best remedy, or there is no better remedy than food. Therefore, it is considered as the supreme-most aushadam or supreme-most medicine for living beings. If you are able to eat the right quality, right quantity at the right time, that is why we also have seasonal cultivation, seasonal fruits, seasonal vegetables. All these are all because their potency, their purpose is conditioned by the nature itself, so that what is best for the living beings includes animals and birds and human beings. There is no variation for it. That is what it is being given to the creation by the creator himself. Ye annam brahma iti upasate. Now comes a form of meditation. One who, or those who meditate upon, regard upon annam, the food, as Brahman itself, and annad bhutani jayante. It is from the food, not from the parents. The parents are only instrument. It is the Brahman which is it is coming to us in the form of food, which is the reason for the birth. Annat bhutani jayante jatani annena vardante. And after having born, it is the annam, which is nothing but Brahman, because of which the growth is taking place for those who are born. Adyate akti cha bhutani. It is eaten and eaten and eats and eaten. That is why the food cycle which is being referred here. Adyate akti cha means some are eating and some become food. And bhutani. Bhutani means the beings. Some beings are eating the food, some beings are eaten as food. In both these cases, both the categories of creation are supported by the Brahman, which is in the form of Annam. Tasmadva. Tasmad tad Annam iti uchyate. Tasmadva etasmad annarasamayat anya antara pranamayaha Atma Tena Esha Purnaha. Right. So, what happens here is that this food, which is nothing but Brahman, is the essence of food. Anna Rasamayat. From the constituted of food, that Anya Antara Pranamayaha. That from the food is the creatures which are needing air, Pranamayaha, which are depending upon the air for their survival. There are creatures which are not needing air, but they consume air in the form of water. There are creations which are in the form of, inside seeds and grains, where they also live on the moisture and air, etc. So all of them are coming under the prana, anya antaraha, separate from the one which are independently depending upon the air for their thing. So Atma Tena Esha Purnaha. The completion of the creation comes with this. Here we have to understand that I need to explain these aspects of Tasmad va etasmat anna rasamayat. From that portion onwards, I'll have to complete this in the next class, because it has to take us from this level to the pranamaya sharira. And before pranamaya sharira, we should understand how this is required for us to understand properly. So right now I will stop up to that place where Ye Brahma Upasate, one who meditates upon Annam as Brahman, as food as Brahman, is where the Upasana is being recommended by the Upanishad for thee. This is exactly in the 15th chapter, in the 4th chapter, there is a verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva Tena Gandavyam Brahma Karma Samadhinaha. There, that the word Brahma is used, everything is Brahman. That same idea is being given here, that for our birth, for our existence, and even after we die, we are merging back to Annam, which is nothing but Brahman. In the form of Brahman, Brahman in the form of Annam is the reason why we are all existing, we are all being born, we are all existing, and into which we go back. That means this aspect of from which everything is born, in which everything is existing, into which everything goes back, is a principle with which Taittareeya Upanishad is totally clinching the secret of creation and how we should understand ourselves. Later mantras also will be showing the similar thing when we come to prana, anandamaya, vijnanamaya, manomaya. All these places we will know this aspect of it. And when it comes to Brahma in the Bhrigu also, we will have the same thing. This yena jivanti yat prajanti abhisam vishanti iti tat brahmatvam vidhi. All those things will come up again. So for the Annamaya, we have completed the Annamaya aspect, and we will go to the Pranamaya in the coming class, which is in next Wednesday. Sunday we will have our question and answer session as usual. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahavidyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you. Dhanyavada.
Thank you very much, Bendaji, and Prakash and everyone else who's here as well. And thank you for taking the time to go back over the things that you feel people are not clear on. We're appreciative of that. So chat is open. Hand raising is open. If people would like to come up and discuss this, I think that would be wonderful. The idea of creation has come up in many different ways and times in different texts that we've looked at with you, Bindaji, and I think we really need to find our way through this. So thank you for focusing on that. So if anyone has things they'd like to discuss related to this Upanishad, please raise your hand and come on up.
Namaste, Venkat.
Namaste,
Hari Om.
Vijay. Hari Om. Ramesh, I hope you are doing well too. Hari Om, Prakash. So, Binuji, I'm trying to connect from the previous class to this class. That Anna Rasa Vikaraha Purusha Kruti Bhavitaha E. That there is a Bhashya is, classifying it as a Anna Rasa Vikaraha. While here, the main verse is, that Anna Brahma Upasita, right? That's it is asking the Enam Brahma Upasate. This Rasamaya and Vikara, they're not telling each other. That is one thing I want to ask you. Number one. Number two, how this that Rasamaya that Anna Rasamaya, that Prithvi has this quality. How that the whole structure it talks about that Tadameva Shiraha Ayam Dakshina Paksha Hayamotra Pakshara, that Pucham Pratishtha, that Pratishtha, how that's shaping up, basically how that's shaping up and establishing Purusha in that either you call it reflection, reflected consciousness, that establishment of that Purusha in that the structure, the shaping up a bit more unclear to me for now, Biduji. How it is shaping up, how
Yep.
it establishing is happening, and
Okay.
that if you can explain one more time.
Okay. First of all, here you should not confuse with the reflection of the mind, Atma, reflecting in the mind, etc., which is a different process and prakriya altogether. So, the Taittareeya prakriya is not talking about the reflection of, Brahman or Atman in the mind, etc. So, I'm not going to talk on that. I discussed it enough in the Taittareeya Upanishad. But when it came to Taittareeya Upanishad, it is a step-by-step creation. So for the subtle elements, and the subtle elements due to Panchikaranam became the gross elements. And in the gross element, the final one is Prithvi, earth. Now earth is a composite material which has got all the elements in it. And these elements are the food, which is coming as vegetables or in the form of food, fruits and grains, etc. And animals which are surviving on the vegetation are becoming the food for carnivorous animals also. So that is adyate, atticha. That two words are adyate means eating, atticha means being eaten. So both these are there. Now how the vikaras are taking place, shapes are taking place, is not a matter which gives importance to how the shape of human beings came, how how the birds came up, or so basically it has the earth which is now giving rise to annam, or the food, is from where, the udbija, what breaks through the earth and comes up, is the plants and the grains and etc. Then Shvetaja, which are born out of the what you call moisture. So if you have the grains and everything stored, you suddenly find some flies and moths coming out of that and flying because of the moisture in the grain. The grain had the seed in it or the germ in it, which has now become the moth or the insects from the animal, or the worms and things like that which comes out of that. Then comes the andaja, which is born out of the egg. Now the egg also, we know that it is made of calcium and other minerals inside the egg, which is again which we see it in the earth. So these are all called vikaras. Same is the case for the human body also. Every aspect of the human body is also nothing but elements which we find in the earth. Other than that, there is nothing outside what is there in any of the creations which you think. So any creation which you take in the world, whether it is the worm, the moth, or the flies, or the birds, the animals, or the human being, all of them are vikaras, means forms and names and forms of the same elements which are found in the earth. Now that earth is a composite material which is born out of the Panchakarana method from the subtle elements, which has come in fact from Brahman. So everything is available in there. That's why the nature of Brahman is all inclusive, is to show that even these elements, when it is merged in Brahman, will not be able to be separated. Even we will not be able to separate it even in the gross elements unless you do a scientific method of separating each element cell by element by iteration or atomic separation, things like that. But when it goes to subtle element, you can't even segregate them, because they are not accessible for the gross elements or gross instruments for accessing. So, and we are talking about Brahman, which is subtler than the subtler elements. So, what we are talking about the vikara is only from the point of the gross earth onwards. Therefore, what is being told as a vikara, annarasa vikara, is that the food, whether you call it as calcium, phosphorus, or ammonia, or whatever may be, or in the form of grains or fruits or vegetables, or in the form of mutton, chicken, etc., all of them are vikaras of the same earth, which we call it as annam. And if it is vegetarian for animals or birds and human beings, they will be resorting to grains and fruits and vegetables. If they are non-vegetarians, they will be looking for other animals which can be eaten, like goat or deer or buffalo or things like that. So, or if they are pure carnivorous like lion and tiger, their interest of food will be other animals which can be eaten. So, all these things shows that they are all anna rasa vikaraha. They are born out of anna because of the consumption of anna. Then the element which is coming in the form of, semen and the egg, which is recreating either the egg or the embryo, are also out of food only. And then for the baby or these things to survive, they need to be fed in the food that is also again made from the earth only. And when they die, the body withers away and goes back to the earth again, which is back to the same fundamental elements. So the vikara means the modifications appearing and disappearing, all from annam only. Therefore, anna rasa vikaraha.
I think Bidaji, that classifies very well. Now, this verse which shows that that Sava Esha Purushonna Rasamayaha Tade Tasyedameva shiraha. Ayam dakshina pakshaha. Ayam uttar pakshaha. Ayamatma idam pucham pradishta. This template. This template is
Okay.
common for every animal
Creation.
or in a plant. Yeah, every creation. This is a template.
Yes.
This is not a vikara, right, Binduji?
That is also a vikara, no? That vikara in the name of forms, not as constituents. The constituents are from the earth. What vikara is being given as the shira, atma, the pakshaha and pratishta, pucham, all of them are nothing but annavikaraha, because the body is vardate, anneneva vardante. So how are they growing? Because they are consuming food. So not only for their birth, even for their growth. A bird, when it is being born, first it is being born as an egg. Then it is born, that time the wings are not formed at all. Then the mother feeds the chicken or the egg or the young ones. And as they start eating the food, they start developing their body, and slowly with the wings come up, the tail come up. Same is the case for a human being. When it is at the embryo level, the egg and the semen put together produce the egg embryo. Embryo grows inside because the mother is consuming the food. That food is the reason which goes through the umbilical cord and into the child, and the child grows. Even after the child comes out of the mother's womb, it needs food to survive, grow, survive, and till the death, the food is consumed. So all this shows that whether you see the physical vikara or the vikara of the varieties of the creations in the world, all of them are depending upon the food. Therefore, Anna Rasamayaha Sarva. And one who meditates on Annam as Brahman is the person whom we are going to study in the next class. How it is a meditation on Brahman will be helpful for Brahman, Annam as Brahman.
I think, Binduji, this classification is fine, Binduji. That akara vikara, that is avyakruta or vakruta. Maybe that's a way to classify it. Avyakruta to vakruta. That does happen. Basically, whatever shaping up happening, if from avyakruta of a human form become vakruta when in the annam form, that complementary shaping up happen from a Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha has all the avyakruta. Then when the actual manifestation take place in the grosser world, vakruta happens. So both can be taken this way. Whatever the template that existed, simply shaped up, utilizing annam, anna rasamaya, using annam, either eaten or eaten away. That is what is going on here. That's how it is, right, Binduji, in a way?
Yes. That is, the vikara starts from the subtle elements onwards. The subtle element is also a vikara. That is why the quality of sound, etc. are passed on to at the subtle element level. So that is the Vyakruta Rupam from that. Avyakruta is at the Atma Brahman level.
Okay, both are already. It's a class. It's simply a class. Even if you meditate upon it, Brahman powering it. That end of the day with Tadatma.
That is where the Ananyatvam has to be brought in by the Upasana.
Okay, Binduji,
then only we can bring it back.
Yeah, this is connecting well, Binduji. That Tadatma was one of the biggest disclosures in this Upanishad, helping now connect this. Okay, thank you, Binduji. That helps now. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Namaste, Revati.
Pranam, Binduji. I wanted to ask that tanmatras are the avyakrita. All the 5 tanmatras are
tanmatras also vyakrita. Avyakrita is at the Brahman's level, Atman level. Vyakrita means not for human consumption. We may not be able to see. That is after Panchikarana only we can see that. That our gross elements can be. That has to be become. At subtle element also, they have got gunas separately. Akasha is Shabda Gunakaha. Right? Therefore, there is a Vyakriti.
Yes. Okay. And before the Tanmatras, it is Abhakruta. And when the Tanmatras also starts, the
no, the Tadatmya, when happens, the Vyakrita takes place. See, Akasha was created and Akasha acquires the sound as a Gunaka for it. That is due to Tadatmya with the Nirguna Brahman.
Yes.
That time the Nirguna, that Avyakrita has giving the sound, it becomes Vyakrita.
Yes. There is the Andhra-tattvam. There only it applies.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Clear.
Thank you, Revati.
So if anyone else would like to ask any questions, we still have some little bit of time left. Please feel free to raise your hands and come on up.
I think that's it. Okay. We can close the room early.
Okay, let's do that. Everybody can go and contemplate upon these important topics. And please join us on Sunday at the same time, 8:30 p.m. IST or 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And take the time to listen to the replays both here and on the YouTube channel Advaita Retold. So thank you, Prakash. Thank you very much, Binduji. And those who came up and spoke, and everybody who chose to attend and be with us today. Bindu, can you close us out?
Yep. Thank you, Atmisha, Prakash, Venkat, and Revati for questions and being there in the panel. And thank you all in the audience who have been there with me all through this Upanishad. Please ask questions. If you are not clear, then only I can come back and explain. Asking questions in the back channel is fine, but asking in the crowd also helps you to, instantly ask the question. But otherwise, you have to wait for me to reply in the back channel and explain it again. So don't wait for that. Ask your questions. Don't be shy. Okay. So we will have the Sunday Q&A. There also you can ask the questions. Otherwise, we will continue the Upanishad on next Wednesday. Thank you all. Hari Om. Namaste. Good night.
Hari Om.